Hi, well, good evening, everyone from the Arab American Pharmacists Association. It's always a pleasure to be with you during this time as you have your town hall. Unfortunately, we can't be together in person, but I definitely want to know that we are constantly thinking about you at the forefront of our decision-making process in Lansing. When I think about my community and the small pharmacists, I think about all of those individuals who may not have access to transportation, want to connect with their local pharmacist and have that relationship. And I think do believe that it definitely is a relationship that needs to continue because the small business owner is who I champion in my community. And so as I sit in the legislature, I am privileged to be on several committees that also parallel to some of the concerns that need to be addressed for your association, which would be health policy. In addition to that, I also sit on the Department of Health and Human Service, where the appropriation side. Not only that, but from a regulation standpoint, we do look at some issues when it comes to um, benefits when it comes to health policy as well through LARA, Licensing Regulatory Affairs. So I'm happy and privileged to be here with you today and definitely look forward to continue to serve in this 101 legislature.
Thank you, Senator, and thank you for joining us tonight. Thank you for all of the work you've done on behalf of the members of the AAPA and continue to do. I know that we had sent you the list of all of the things that we are looking to do this session, and one of them is obviously to put into statute the boilerplate from the DHHS budget, section 1625. We definitely have good support from the Speaker of the House, and I know that the Senate Republicans, this is a big issue for everyone going forward. So I know that you had helped in your capacity on Senate appropriations to make sure that this has been taken care of, and just your view on our moving forward and getting that into statute, and any advice that you have for us in terms of making sure we can get that done this session.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Barb. Definitely, it's great to have policies like, just the initial step be to place this type of support into boilerplate language. I believe that, from an appropriation standpoint, boilerplate language has, teeth, but definitely I think codifying this into law will help support our pharmacists, especially when it comes to how we look at PBMs in our state of Michigan. I think that definitely from an advocacy standpoint, you all have definitely been on the forefront of this and advocating to members in health policy. In addition to that, on the Health and Human Service side for DHHS, the appropriations. But I definitely want to say that I don't think it goes without vain that the governor did decide to put together a task force around pharmacy in general. I believe that having our vice chair and chair person, I know that Senator Brinks sits on that task force and has also been spearheading legislation to make sure that we codify 1625 into law. So I definitely feel that moving forward, there's a lot of great benefits to some of the task force recommendations. In addition to that, the work that's already being done. I know that legislation has already been drafted, and definitely it will be on the forefront of everyone's mind. I believe that from a bipartisan standpoint, these are policies that we can agree on, and obviously, we may get some pushback from the PBMs, but I definitely think it's the right thing to do, not only to save money from a state standpoint, but also to make sure there's transparency around pricing and making sure that we are not passing that cost on to not only the consumer, but also making sure that our our small business pharmacists don't have to eat that cost as well. So I think that moving forward, just continue to advocate and have those conversations with legislators like myself will definitely help to move this policy forward into codifying into law. I will say that, I know that Rep. Hammoud and I definitely have a tag team relationship and communication when it comes to policies that we're both passionate about. So I think definitely continue to advocate with those members on health policy will definitely help support moving this forward.
Thank you. I would just ask to give your perspective of what you hear from your colleagues in regards, more directly, I guess, regarding PBMs. Obviously they, we struggle to, with the practices that they use, and obviously to our detriment. And we feel like in the last couple of years, the lawmakers have become much more aware of the practices that they use and how it does hurt our independent pharmacies. Is there anything else that we should be doing to make sure that we are educating your colleagues enough on that issue?
I think definitely for those colleagues who don't necessarily sit on health policy or maybe not have a direct understanding of PBMs, I think definitely putting it into a layman's perspective for them will really help them to understand how this impacts our constituents, because at the end of the day, they're the end user of prescription drugs. And so I think putting it in that perspective for them will definitely support, you'll see more support, I believe. I think through this COVID process, it definitely has lend itself to some of the vulnerabilities that are within our overall healthcare system. So I think those conversations are very fluid right now and they're very current. And so I believe just definitely continuing to have those conversations and dialogues. I would say that from my personal standpoint, I think that having champions like myself, Rep. Hammoud, as well as Senator Kurt Vanderwald and Winnie Brinks, who also sits on health policy, definitely having those connections with us key stakeholders that sit on health policy, using us in that way to communicate to our other colleagues is definitely helpful and supportive as well. But I think you're doing some of the great things, definitely Barb, you as well as Malak communicate pretty frequently about these issues. And I think that has been very supportive, especially for AAPA.
Thank you. I don't know if you had a chance to review, and you may have not. And I'll say this for the group too, because it's coming up on some of the comments. There was a Supreme Court ruling, Rutledge versus the Pharmaceutical Care Management Association, which it was a landmark ruling for the industry and to determine whether community pharmacies are protected from abusive payment practices. We've been kind of in since that ruling came out, people haven't been in Lansing, and with COVID, it's makes it a little bit difficult to get everybody together. So we're just beginning to really educate members on that and get some reaction and to see how we can move that, use that Supreme Court ruling to move the needle in Michigan on that. So I don't know, Senator, if you've had a chance to look at that yet. If not, we understand, but it is something we're going to want to address this session as well.
Absolutely. I think they're, definitely, through that decision, I think that it definitely shed some light on just what is, what the state is able to do. I think that in the case of RISA, I think that there was concern about regulation and being able to regulate PBM. So I think through that ruling, it has helped to provide additional transparency. And as we move forward as a state, I think that it will help to support some of those decisions that we're trying to codify into law. So I had a brief overview of it, Barb, but I definitely want to make sure that moving forward as someone to advocate for this issue, that definitely I will be able to support and communicate those issues to my colleagues as well. So I commend you all for the work that you're doing, but definitely it does help to, have further background detail. So we will continue to work on that.
Absolutely. I don't know if there's any other questions, Kelly?
I don't think I saw any others that came through. There was just the topic of the Supreme Court ruling, which I know that some of our other speakers might be able to address as well later in the evening. So I know that that's on everyone's mind because it was such a big win for pharmacy across the board. So I know that as we go through this evening, for those that are, I know we've received quite a few messages on that subject. We will address the Supreme Court ruling, and if it's not completely answered this evening, we will provide additional feedback after the town hall. So I just wanted for everyone that's been sending questions about the Supreme Court ruling, the questions will get answered as we have additional speakers throughout the evening that will be addressing many of the concerns that you've sent in. Sylvia, we greatly appreciate you joining us this evening and taking the time to, speak with our membership and everything that you're doing to fight the good fight for community pharmacies.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And thank you for having me. And I look forward to continue to move this codify 1625 into law to help support the effort. So thank you all. Have a great evening.
Thank you so much for everything you do.
Take care.
Thank you.